You know what I love most about the weeks that Jerry's not here? Is shit gets going on time. That's the best part. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll the intro. Oh, that's the wrong one. Just because Jerry's not here doesn't mean this isn't gonna be amateur hour again. That's how this works. Amateur hour. All right. So, yeah, because Jerry's not here, couple things. Dang it, I did the wrong one again. Nope. There we go. See, that's what happens when you have too many freaking scenes. Yeah. All right. So because Jerry's not here, a couple things. One, I'm doing a 720p stream right now because, oops, I don't like when my armrests aren't even. Because my internet sucks. So that's the way it is. Two, this background, if you guys remember, every time Jerry's out and I'm by myself, I used to do Tech Talk by myself. Like the first 30 episodes or whatever of it was by myself. And this was the background. This is like an homage to those days. That's why you can also see the Yoush logo on there, which I haven't been partnered by Yoush in like 3.5 years. So yeah. But anyway, here's what we're going to do today. We are going to scratch my beard. No, we are going to spend the next hour and a half just kind of doing Q&A stuff, because Q&A is always fun. You guys are always fun to hang out with. Thanks for hanging out with me on your Wednesday evening and or Thursday morning, depending on... Wait, no, sorry. Thursday evening and or Friday morning. It's been a long week. Bear with me. It's been a long week. Do you really expect my head to be screwed on all the way? Come on, no. Lots of comments this week on the beard. Still love it or hate it. I've trimmed it once already lengthwise because I learned something. My beard grows like different lengths at different areas of my face. So my face, which if you guys didn't know, like it's pretty rubbery. But anyway, like parts of it were longer than others. So once I trimmed it, I was happy. But I almost shaved it all the way off because I'm getting kind of sick of it myself. Just saying. So if you have questions you want answered, the usual methods apply. See the description about the donations. I do have someone keeping track of those as best as YouTube will allow. I apologize if any of those get missed because YouTube sucks when it comes to the donations. Their donation system is like a complete afterthought. I mean, they're just like, yeah, we'll collect their money, but we won't necessarily show the comment, which makes us look like douchebags because we just look like we're like, hey, thanks for the $5, bruh, but I'm not gonna answer your question. So, is what it is. Also, too, there is Twitter. You can get at me on the Twitter. I've got the Twitter up, and we're gonna get a lot done today. Coconut Monkey is coming over later tonight, so I'm gonna be ending promptly at 6:30. I am starving. I've been working my ass off all day because I'm not going to be in the office tomorrow. I am going to be hanging out at Paul's Hardware's place tomorrow because he asked me to come over and help him with the mini ITX water-cooled build, which he is more than capable of doing by himself. But I think he just wants. I think he just likes the beard. Honestly, that's probably all it is. But anyway, what do I expect of the GTX 1050? I expect it to be lesser than the 1060, 3 gig, I guess. Although rumor has it it's got more memory on it than the 1063 gig. So was that 4 gigs? I've never understood the odd numbers. Like Nvidia was always the one that went with odd numbers, like 1.5 gigs on the 580, or what was it, 768 megs? I think was also on like the 480 at one point or something like that, or was it the 280, 285? Something had less than a gig, and then there's the 3 gig 1060, and it's just like, what the heck is wrong? Right? Wasn't it 3? Was it 3 gigs? On the 680, I think had 3 gigs. No, it had 2 gigs. Anyway, it's all fucked up. Like AMD's has always kept it kind of a round number anyway. Don't forget there's 3.5 gigs on the 970. Yes, I know that. It's always been like 1, 2, 4, 8. I mean, kudos to AMD at least for keeping it that easy. What is GRC? It's Global Rally Cross. It's hosted every year up at Dirtfish Rally School, and which Jerry and I are going to be racing each other next month, by the way. That'll be fun. Yeah, so he's got an opportunity to be literally strapped into a rally car, like a real rally car with a real driver, not like the school cars, but like real rallycross cars. And he's out there probably shitting himself. But he'd be shitting himself even if he wasn't in the car. That's just what he does. Yeah, there was a 320 meg 8800 GTS. There was also the 640 meg 8800 GTS. I remember that. That was interesting. So yeah, it was just like, what the 780 had 3 gigs. That's what I thought. Like NVIDIA is just weird with the numbers. I'm like, let's just make this confusing as hell, and then let's just have everything based on a relative factor of 1.38. Yeah, looks good on paper. All right. So I got the Twitter open. If you guys have anything you want to tweet me at JayzTwoCents. And what is that? Coiled Hardline and Skunkworks. No, thank you. I do not do the coils. I do not do the coils. Yeah. 7970 at 3 gigs. Whatever. Don't burst my bubble. I'm giving AMD a little bit of credit where it may or may not be deserved. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's kind of moot. It's a moot point. So yeah, I'm sure all you guys have started school by now. How's school? You guys all doing your homework? You shouldn't be doing your homework right now. You should be watching this. If you're listening to me and you're doing math homework, well then you gotta divide the integers by 0.2 and don't worry about the remainders because the Democrats are gonna eat those anyway. And yeah, so you just gotta make sure that everything's a perfect round number, but it's odd. Homework done. Yeah, that's all good. How's my dad? Good. My dad doing? He's actually doing pretty darn good, actually, now that his heart's beating normal. Yeah, he had to have a pacemaker put in. His heart was stopping for like up to 5 seconds at a time, which was kind of shitty. So, yeah, there's that. There's that thing. I'm going to bring up the document, huh? Yeah, there's a document that I'm supposed to be looking at. I do like when I do these hangouts, though, like this, when I get to do... This is what Tech Talk was supposed to be about. When I brought Jerry onto the show, it really just turned into a lot of banter back and forth, which means I don't get to spend as much time answering audience questions. But that was the whole point of Tech Talk. Tech Talk was supposed to be like my hour a week to just talk to you guys live. So you guys could be like, I wonder what Jay's doing right now. Well, you can see it. This is live. If you're watching this live, then yes, it's live. If you're watching it recorded, then no, it's not live. If you're watching this recorded, but you don't know it's recorded, and you think it's live, and I just told you it's live, but it's not live, which means that at that point it's just video or DVR. I confused myself. All right, Eric Steele says, "Sup, Jay? Got a new EVGA for the Win 1080 replacements. You got replacements? I don't remember what was wrong with the other ones. I'm sorry, man. Doing the OC on them right now, up to plus 125 clock and 600 memory at 68 degrees. Going for more later. I'd back off the memory a little bit. You're probably so the G5X. Once you go over the 11,000 megahertz clock, it starts to kind of artifact a little bit here and there, and it starts to create some stability issues. So I'd worry more about your clock first, and just kind of leave it at like like 500 plus 500. I would do that. Jacob Stevens says, "Hey Jay, I'd like to donate every few weeks. Love the content, but I would like to know how the biking and other such exercise is going. And how is little Jay doing? We haven't seen her in a long time." The biking sucks, only because time sucks right now. I did get out on the bike the other day. I kind of want to talk about that, actually, because that brought up quite the conversation on Twitter. So I set out on a 30-mile ride, ended up coming up... Well, okay. So I start and stop Strava late. I always do that on purpose, so I don't ever start and stop in the same place. But I did a 30-mile ride. It came up probably more like 29.5, I think it was. I actually rode down to Austin Evans' office, which happens to be where I was riding my bike to all the time, and didn't know that he was like upstairs, which is weird. But anyway, mile 1 into that ride, I didn't want to ride on the street, on the bike trail at this particular part, because there was some construction going on. And so I went, you know what? From this light to the next light, I'll just ride on the sidewalk, which is my fault to begin with. A bike should not be on the sidewalk. But there was a guy jogging with his little girl, about little Jay's age, and I'm riding up behind them. And I always slow down and either yell, "Excuse me," or "On your left," or whatever, so that they're not spooked as a bike goes zoom right past them. So I slowed down to like maybe maybe anywhere between 5 or 7 miles per hour, not very fast. Guy's jogging, his little girl's riding her bike right in front of him, and she pulls to the right. She never saw or heard me, but she pulls to the right, and I yell, like, excuse me, and the guy goes, like, he tells his daughter, like, hey, stay to the right. And of course, right as I'm starting to pass, she hears stay to the right, and so she darts to the left, literally in front of my bike. And right where that happens, I ride off the sidewalk because I didn't want to run into her. That would have been bad for her, trust me. But right at that part where I rode off the sidewalk, there's like cobblestones that are like kind of decorative, I guess you'd say. But those ended right where I went off, and like wood chips and dirt was the rest of it. Again, decorative. The problem is when you have 23 millimeter wide tires, it just dug right into that dirt, and then I couldn't get my wheels back up on the sidewalk because of the fact that there was at least a 2-inch thickness of difference between the sidewalk and where the dirt was. And so I went down hard on my right side. Rib cage hit first, then my thigh and my shoulder. I'm just glad I didn't fall on my collarbone because that's a common bike break. And to add insult to injury, as soon as I went down on my side right in front of her, she ran into me with her bike, which kind of sucks. So it was kind of like, and thud and whack with her bike, which really sucked. It's all caught on camera, by the way. I was testing the new Garmin Verb camera, the VIRB, which is like their GoPro killer camera. I love this camera, by the way. Yeah, so it's all caught from the handlebars perspective. But anyway, so yeah, I finished my ride after that. None of the pain, I didn't have any rib cage pain until I got to Austin's place, because the guy was like, oh my God, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna check the bike. Bike frame is fine. I have a carbon fiber bike, so trust me. I was like, oh my God. My first thought as I was going down, I was like, no, the bike frame is expensive. As I'm going down. Handlebars bent a little bit. I straightened those back. My right lever, one of the brackets on that broke, so it's got a little bit more side-to-side play than it should, but it still works. Rear derailleur was bent. I bent that back straight. Of course, the chain came off. I fixed that on the side of the road. Guy was like, are you cool? I'm like, yeah, we're good. Is your daughter okay? Yep, she's good. I was like, all right, my fault. I should have been on the sidewalk. He was like, no, my fault. My daughter should have watched what she was doing. Basically, he was like, okay, have a nice day. Off we went. I rode another 15 or 16 miles to Austin's place, got some coffee, was sitting there chatting for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then the cool down started. And when I got thud whacked, absolutely. You guys know when the cool down starts and your muscles start to go, we can take a break, was when the rib cage pain started to happen. And I was like, oh shit. I bent down to pick something up because Austin was actually looking at my bike, and we were like, wow, cool bike. And I bent down to pick something up off the ground, and when I bent was when my ribs basically said, hey, guess what? We hurt right now. And I was like, ooh, that's a bad feeling right there. So I told him, I was like, I better get on the bike. I better get back home, because I had about a 15-mile ride home. And that whole ride home really sucked, because then the pain set in. So anyway, a lot of folks were like, why the hell did you keep riding? It's because I didn't feel a damn thing after the fact. So bruised ribs, it really sucks. Some shoulder pain, some thigh pain. But I'll say this, though. Going down twice. The first time I went down on the bike was, I tried to ride in some mud. The bike stopped and tipped over. I didn't fall. Like, I was able to kind of catch myself. It wasn't a fall or damage to the bike. But I put 5,000 miles on this bike. And having gone down once in 5,000 miles, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. But anyway, I'm going to get the bike checked out anyway. So that's going to put a kibosh on riding a little bit. I wanted to ride today, but the incident was 2 days ago, and today I'm really sore. So I'm probably going to start riding again next week. Weight loss is still good. I've actually put back on about 6 pounds of fat, according to my body scan with my trainer. And what sucks is I spent the last 9 months focusing on like lifting and like, working on my guns. The problem with lifting is it makes you fucking hungry. You're always hungry. And it's a different kind of hunger than when I was writing. So I'm working on it. Anyway, yeah, no audio, right? Yeah, I'm just sitting here talking to myself. Yeah, it's funny. Anyway, I guess I would say something to the people that say they can't hear me, but they wouldn't hear me, would they? If you guys are watching a live stream and you're ever like, there's no audio, or all I see is a black screen, instead of like publicly announcing that you're having a problem, the first thing you should do is just like your computer, like start it again, turn it off and on, right? Stop the stream and start it again. That's usually going to fix your issue. Okay, This won't get seen. I'm watching it right now. But have you considered an electric bike like the Sundars? No. Biking to me is about pedaling, man. It's about the suffer. It's not about riding on a motorized bike. I might as well just get a motorcycle or a moped if that was the case. All right. Let's see here. Jacob Stevens says, oh, wait, I already read that one. But looks like Hobbs didn't mark that one off. All right. Jordan Kevin Dibble, epic name again. Remember you from last week. Hey, Jay, love the videos and like to donate to show my support. If you have a single loop and have two radiators with GPU and CPU, should you set the first lot of fans to the CPU temp or the GPU temp? Doesn't really matter. The radiators are going to equalize the temperature across the entire loop, not that part of the loop. So if you want to make your fan speed up and slow down with CPU usage or GPU usage, I would recommend GPU usage. That's how I set my fans. I don't have any fans set to control or be controlled by CPU temperature because those tend to be more consistent. There's less spikes and less heat technically in a CPU than there is in a GPU. So I let my graphics cards control my fans. That's just how I do it. But you can do however you want. Let's see here. Elrod says, hey, Jay, HID, LED, or halogen, and why? Baby dumplings. Well, LED, of course, but I don't know what we're talking about here. All the lighting in my house is LED. I've replaced all the cans with LEDs. HIDs, well, it's a high-intensity discharge, otherwise known as Jerry's poop naps. Yeah, I couldn't help it. The ballast in those can tend to buzz, and that's never fun. Halogens are just freaking hot and take a lot of energy. So I guess LED? Yeah, high-intensity discharge, a.k.a. poop naps. Stu says, hey, Jay, thoughts on water cooling in a Win 805 case? Love the content. Much love all the way from Australia. Well, what's up down under? I don't know what the Win 805 is. I'm embarrassed to say. Let me see what that case is. Let's look it up right now. Okay. It's glass. I do not see a very thick top part, so I'm not putting a radiator up top. Looks like the radiators have to go in the front only, but potentially... Okay, so I could fit a 240, it looks like, without having to remove the drive cages. These are the kind of cases that are compromising when it comes to water cooling, right? You've got to get rid of the drive cages if you want to put like a 360 in there, I think. This case is, in my opinion, more about the elegance, right? It's got what looks like the infinity window in the front. It's a neat looking case, but it's not very water cooling-ish. I wouldn't even bother, personally. That's just me. Let's see. Phones going off and stuff. Okay. Oh yeah, my iPhone 7 Plus arrives tomorrow. Feel the hate. If you don't like it, I don't give a shit. It's not your phone. All right. Jonathan Allison says, hey Jay, asked you last week about a sound system for my new place. Girlfriend says Sonos is too expensive. Do you have any cheaper suggestions? I don't, honestly. I don't research that stuff very much. Yeah, the Sonos is not cheap. It's really not. But it's pretty awesome in terms of features. At that case, I would just look for like a decent soundbar kit, honestly. I don't think... Because you can get the bar and the sub for $1,400. If you're not going to spend that much money, you're not going to get like a high-end surround sound. You probably get some mid-range stuff, like maybe like a Denon, maybe a Harman Kardon for around $1,000. But I mean, the receivers on those guys alone could be like $600-700 on the low end. So honestly, go to Best Buy and just start listening, man. That's all I can suggest, honestly. Mike Game says, here's $8. He said, here's $8, but it came across as $5. I love it. Okay, here's $8 for all the great work in the market. It hurts to laugh right now. Don't make me laugh. In the market for a new monitor. What do you think about a 1080p 144 hertz or a 2K 60 hertz? Dude, that's preference. That's all preference. I prefer, personally, for a gaming panel, I would take a 1080p 144 over a 4K. Now, 2K is 2160p. I don't know if you're assuming that's a 4K panel at 60 hertz or if you're talking about like a 1440p panel. So you didn't clarify that. But I would take the higher refresh rate for gaming than I would the total resolution. That's just me, though. One mad fish, small sign. Sorry about water cooling question, but i5 6600 EVGA 1070 reference. Okay, good. We're not calling it Founders. Fuck Founders. It's reference, damn it. A 280 by 30 millimeter rad. Will the Phobia DC-12 be enough pump to move coolant for good temps? Yeah, absolutely. That pump that you saw, if you watched, was that yesterday? Yeah, if you watched yesterday's video about the Zotac Arctic Storm, that little pump, that was a DC-12. That was actually the Phobia DC-12. So yeah, it would be just fine, and it will actually move that fluid fast too. Kyle Machot says currently playing Team Fortress Classic with an AMD 500 AFX and a Riva TNT. Want to play some new titles? Would you recommend to upgrade to? Everything. You need to upgrade everything. Even a basic system, like a $500, $600 build, would be a massive improvement for you. If money's see, I don't like open-ended questions like that where they're like, hey, I've got this. What should I get next? With no budget. There's like no budget in there at all. You didn't say anything about money. I'm going to say you should get 2 Titan XPs. I think you should get a 6950X. I think you should get 128 gigabytes of DDR4, 3000 megahertz. I think you should put it all in a D-frame in-win case. 1600 watt EVGA titanium power supply. What else can we throw in there? Of course, let's just set aside like $2,500 for the water cooling loop, all glass tubes, or we could just do all fittings, right? You can do that. But see, you kind of see the point there, right? If you don't give me an idea of money that you have to spend, I can't help. KG21 fan says, what case manufacturers or specific cases should I look at for EATX? Custom water loop support and tempered glass from upcoming X99 build. You're really specific there, wanting EATX support and tempered glass. The tempered glass is really going to limit your prospects there. I might recommend... Hobbs says, I'm pretty sure he was trolling. Obviously, I trolled him back, sir. Hobbs. Put down the beer. You could do like I'm going to do. So, Skunkworks, as you can see right there, has acrylic. But on this update, I'm getting tempered glass made for that. So you can always... Yeah, I just slammed that shit. Just shut it. Coconut Monkey always freaks out with the way I handle, like, hardware, because I'm just like, this shit is really like robust, and that freaks him out when I show him like, dude, graphics cards and stuff, these things are not, they're not that delicate. And so when he sees me do stuff like that, he's always like, oh my heart, stop it, it hurts. So yeah, make a glass panel. Find a case that you like, make a glass panel. Go find a glass shop and get it made. You can take the plexi to them. It's kind of easy, at least for the Case Labs case, because it's a single piece of plexi and the holes are in the plexi to mount it to, so they can drill the holes in the glass. But anyway, Paul's Hardware did it with his Define case, the Define R5. Jay, you're not going to use the DG87 now? I never said I was using the DG87 for Skunkworks. That's for a different build. My 6700K build is in there. But anyway, Deadly Muffin Cat. That's a deadly cat. Hey Jay, any recommendations for a UPS in the 1500 VA range? No, I don't use a UPS myself, and I haven't used UPSs in a long time. Who do we used to use at work? Let me look it up real quick. Let's see. We used to use UPSs obviously when I worked in IT. We used APC stuff, but we had a lot of failure with APC. That's not to say that they're a bad company. It's just my company was kind of cheap, so we never bought the good ones. We used CyberPower, but I think APC is going to be kind of your run-of-the-mill, what everyone would recommend sort of thing. But yeah, we did use a mixture of APC and CyberPower, but like I said, APC failed us a lot. But we were running hundreds of them because we used them on every single machine in the company across 6 offices in the United States, 2 in Canada and 1 in Spain. And when you have that many, there's going to be a failure rate. All right, so that's all the donation comments for now. So if you guys still want to put in donation comments, go ahead, plenty of time. I'm going to go ahead and hit up the Twitters, See what the tweeters got going on. Oh, 52 tweets. Okay, then. CDMC says, can a 1000 watt that has a 12 volt, 80 plus amp power, a 500 watt, 50 amp car amp for home use? If PSU voltage would still dip and trigger protection. Okay, so you could try doing what a lot of the car audio guys do and put a capacitor in there, like a big cap. That'll help at least give some, that'll help with the power spikes. That's what a lot of the car guys do. And I only know this because I spent several years installing high-end dB drag sound systems. That's why I hate bass today. I hate bass because it gives me an instant headache when we used to do these massively high SPL systems for dB drags. But anyway, you could probably still hook a capacitor up to that because you're dealing with DC anyway, direct current. And that's what people would use in cars, obviously, to keep the headlights from dimming and stuff when the bass would hit. And it's going to be that sudden draw, that huge draw like that, that's going to spike the amps and trip the breaker. But I think if you convert to DC and then put a capacitor in line, then it should fix the problem or keep there from being a problem. But I don't know. Sounds to me like you're trying to use a car amp as a home amp of some sort. John Van Honkerton, few £100 budget, ideally max, gaming and protectivity. Few £100 budget. It's funny. You can tell I'm American. My first thought was like, is that a fat joke? He's talking about pounds. He's some fat. Why is NVIDIA releasing the fucking 1080 Ti? Now I don't want to get a 1080. They've released a Ti version since the 780. And I'm talking about the 80 versions, by the way, guys. I know there was 560 Ti's. They've released a 780 Ti, a 980 Ti. So why wouldn't they release a 1080 Ti? Right? Where's Jerry? Masturbating while taking poop naps. All right. Ryan Hulse says, still running my i7 920 DO stepping, or D0. He put DO, it is D0 stepping. Stock cooler getting 96C when encoding. Thoughts? Get a better cooler? Better thermal paste, too? Shay Glenn. Hey, Jay. Would the Deep Cool Tesseract be a good case for someone's first gaming PC? Is that the one that has the built-in water cooling like reservoir on the front? No, that's a small form. This is a smaller mid-tower case. Yeah, it'd be perfectly fine, man. I mean, cases like this, yeah, it's got long graphics cards in mind because that 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drive cage will come out. Yeah, it's fine. I wouldn't have any issues building in that. All right, so Howell has a comment here from the donation comments. He says, Jason, yeah, my name's Jason if you guys didn't know that. Why does Afterburner say that my 1070 Seahawks core speed is 1962 megahertz during gaming when the spec says the boost clock on the card is 1797? I can tell you haven't watched any of my recent videos about graphics cards. That's called GPU boost. And GPU boost is going to go up to 1797 immediately because that's where the BIOS tells it to go. Tells the controller of the core to go. And then what happens is GPU boost says, hey, we're not running very hot. We're not using a lot of power. And our power limit's nowhere near where like the max. So why don't we just start to overclock ourselves? So what you see is GPU boost dynamically real-time self-overclocking to get better performance. And since you're running a Seahawk, which I believe is the water-cooled MSI card, there's more headroom for you. So that's why you're seeing faster clocks. The air-cooled cards see that too. The difference is over time, your cards are not going to get as hot as an air-cooled card, so your clocks aren't going to start to dip down as much as the water-cooled, or as the air card would. So your water-cooled graphics cards still obviously have a very good gaming experience today because they're not going to be changing or fluctuating frequencies nearly as much. Chaos Wiley says, hey Jay, any ideas on the best way to set up cooling fans in a Corsair Carbide 100R to try and keep dust to a minimum? My house gets really dusty sometimes. Love the show. Keep up the awesome work. Carbide 100R, is that that's not the new double stack one, right? Okay, so I'm looking at the front design here. So it's only pulling in air through the sides, like kind of like a Define case does there. You would probably, I don't know. there's so many vents in that case, especially since all the I/O plates are vented. I mean, as long as you put the fans in the front, fill them up, make them intakes, and then only have the one exhaust, you'll get positive pressure. But I don't think you're gonna have to worry about dust all that much anyway. You could also replace those I/O shields in the back that are all vented with solid ones to keep dust from being able to be pulled in through there. But if you don't already have those, then I mean, you're only talking a $50 case here, so it wouldn't make sense to spend more money on that. Does anyone else think that Precision X OC for Maxwell sucks? I hunted down the old version. Joel, I used to feel that way, but I haven't had any issues with it in a while. I kind of have a skewed perspective of that, though, because I've gotten to play around with the beta versions before they ever went out. See, MSI puts their beta versions online for everyone to use. EVGA doesn't do that. So I've gotten to play with like early versions of the software and saw what like real bugs are like. And compared to what the retail or full version, client version is now, it's come a long way. I use it no problem. In fact, I prefer it over MSI Afterburner because the latest Afterburner beta 13, it's beta 13 or beta 14, doesn't save profiles for whatever reason. That's broken. So, yeah. A $50 card simply isn't worth it. That depends on who you're asking, honestly. Brandon Cole, as cheap as I can get it, I'm running... Oh, you're responding to someone. Okay. Jay, what's better, the 780T or the Master Maker 5? Okay, so the 780T was the case that I built Coconut Monkey's birthday system in. I really like it, but it's a big case. I mean, it's not small by any means. So you're comparing two very different form factors here. They're both full tower, right? The Master Maker 5 is about modularity and being able to upgrade it and put on, it has a different door, different windows, even has the plexi, or not the plexi, but the glass window on the side, which I showed in my review. The 780T is about cramming in as much as you can, having tons of fans, and having a very kind of a robotic, sort of a futuristic look about it. I don't think they're directly comparable because they're two different approaches to that case design. I really dig the 780T design, but I also really did like the Master Maker 5 as well. What I don't like is Cooler Master's way of naming things. The Cooler Master, Master Maker, Maker 5, Maker Air, Duo, whatever. It's like let's just add Master and Maker in there 6 times so we get our point across. And I think the naming is really stupid. Yeah, that's a public opinion that shouldn't surprise anyone. I think a lot of people have been like, what? Who named this crap? You know what I mean? It's like this naming is terrible. I don't think the naming, I think people are turned off by some of the names sometimes before they even look at the features of the case, which is terrible for marketing. I think they need to fire whoever came up with that name. All right. RX 470 all the way, over a 1060 for performance per dollar. Yeah, but I find a lot of people... Street Guru, that's like saying, yep, the GT350R, it's fast. But you know what? I'm going with the Honda Civic Si because of the gas mileage. So if you're after a car that's as fast as a GT350R, you're not going to be too concerned with the gas mileage. So I think if you have the budget for a 1060, the additional performance over the 470 is huge. The performance over the 480 is huge, let alone even the custom cards. That's one of the reasons why the Gigabyte card hasn't gone out yet. I ended up having to get a new BIOS for it because I was having problems with the fans. But again, early access stuff, and this is the kind of stuff that happens. So I think if you were asking the difference between a 1060 and a 480, that would be a closer comparison. But when you're like, get a 470 over the 1060 because you'll get a few more FPS per dollar, but your overall FPS experience averages are going to be way lower. If that's what you're after, then fine. I hope that makes sense. That's the stacker. The half stacker was kind of a flop. Nobody bought it. I mean, people bought it and kind of modded it, but nobody really bought that case. I think what happened there was Cooler Master was trying to kind of jump on the bandwagon of the entire like streaming community, and people were building these dedicated stream machines, and Cooler Master was like, hey, you know what would be cool is if we just made it so that you could like build 2 systems in one box. That'd be awesome. The problem was I made the second box ITX only, And people who were building dedicated stream machines weren't building in an ITX form factor. So it didn't really translate well to those people. David Sally. Hey, Jay. I just got a 2013 FRS. What upgrades do you think I should do first? The usual. Intake and exhaust. That might give you 10 horsepower at the wheels, maybe. It's going to sound better. I mean, you can't deny that the Boxer engine sounds really good, especially when you put an intake on there too. And then trying to pull out a lot of power out of an FRS/BRZ though takes a lot of money. It really does, because you're going to have to put boost on it. Essentially, it's a Subaru motor, right, that you would find in an STI or a WRX without forced induction, which just is it's really a dud. It's only 200 horsepower. You might see 210 at the flywheel before after intake and exhaust. So Yoda Ninja says, in your opinion, what is the best full tower case that supports liquid cooling, has a large tempered preferred? Everyone wants this tempered glass stuff. The moment you say you want tempered glass, you extremely limit your prospects to like Inwin, and that's it. And still great for cable management. Look up Inwin. Look up stuff from like Lee & Lee, Silverstone. But you gotta understand, what you just described is like money. These are money cases. Twitch emotes on YouTube? I don't know. Twitch blocked me on Twitter. I don't even know why. Like someone had like posted something that Twitch had retweeted or something, and I went to look at it, and it was like, you're blocked. I'm like, what the fuck? I've never even tweeted you guys. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't give a shit about Twitch. Jay, people's donations are not showing up. Might need to check. What am I going to check? Who am I going to check with? There's nothing I can do about it, guys. Nothing. Absolutely nothing I can do about the donations not showing up. Lee & Lee PC08 for show. Where's Jerry? Where is Jerry? It says in the freaking title where Jerry is. It says in the title of this video, Jerry is at GRC. So let's do a Q&A. Hey Jay, where's Jerry? This moment of silence is for brain cells. Okay. If you're not going to use them, you're going to lose them, man. All right, YouTube TOS sucks. Yeah, I can see the donations. You can see donations, but you can't see all of them. Sometimes they don't come in. Sometimes they just don't come in. All right, Martin Kohler says, Jay, you ever try the level 10 GT case? Nope, you're talking about thermal tank, and I don't do thermal fake reviews. Also, I'm looking to upgrade to a 1070 air cooled. Which do you think is the best? Asus EVGA Zotac 1070s. I have not been personally hands-on with any of the Asus cards in a long time, and Zotac, I've only looked at the 1080s. The 1070 for the Win card is very powerful from EVGA, so is the standard ACX 3.0 or SC card. They're all going to perform within like 1 or 2 FPS of each other. Seriously, it doesn't matter. They're so close in performance. Let's see, let's go over and check out Twitter. Hi, just want to say thanks for continuous content, and I like your advice on a 5930K or a 6850K. It helps me get to 1080. Okay, so they're both 6-core processors, if I'm not mistaken. The 6850K. Hold on. So the 59. Okay. So you're really just talking the difference here between Haswell E and Broadwell E. You know, I don't know how they directly compare. 15 megabytes of cache. This is a 6-core, 12-cat, 3.6. I mean, they're $609 versus $579. It's a difference of $30. I mean, I guess you could get the Broadwell E if you want to spend the extra $30. I've been using a 5930K in that test bench now for like a year. No issues whatsoever. I like the 5930K a lot. Actually, I would use it as a daily driver if I didn't have a 5960X over here. Lizlo Dude says, I'm looking for 3 24-inch or close 1080p screens. One 144 hertz G-Sync, the other 2 not. Any ideas? Want similar looks? Then get 3 of the same screen, man. 24-inch G-Sync 144 hertz panel. So you're gonna be looking at Acer. You're gonna be looking at Asus. I don't think Asus has a 24-inch G-Sync panel though, do they? Somebody put it in the comments if they do. Hey Jay, I have a 1080 and a $600 to $700 budget. What else should I get? You didn't tell me what you have other than a 1080. Do you have SSDs? Do you have a case? Do you have a power supply? Do you have a CPU? Do you have a motherboard? Do you have anything, or did you buy the graphics card first? Got to give me complete information here, because for $600 or $700 budget, you're going to be looking at like i5 stuff if you don't have anything else. Period. If you already have a 1080, that is. When is Skunkworks with the Titan XP's videos coming? Someday. I know. I was just thinking about that today. I was looking at the system and I'm like, damn it, this is taking too long to even start. The problem is I just had lots of other things I had to get done first. I had to get it done first. I'm not even looking forward to updating Skunkworks, to know the truth. I'm not even looking for it. I like to do the builds and stuff. I had to order some more PETG tubing. Maybe. I've got to order some more soft tubing because I'm going to go back to soft tubing in the basement. I've got to order... So I've already got my radiators. I've got to order stuff. I forgot. That's my problem. That's why I don't... Oh, I have fluid. I need fluid. Jeez. Jay, did the Gigabyte 480 get in yet? Yes, it did. Hold on. Yeah. There it is. This is a custom PCB with a backplate, custom almost said GTX, RX 480. It's got RGB up here. This is RGB controlled. Heat pipes, as you can see. It's got the copper heat pipes. 8-pin power plug instead of a 6-pin. And, yeah. It performs like the same as reference, if you want to know the truth. Let me explain. Here's a reference one right here. Yeah, I know. I got graphics cards everywhere, guys. Literally. I mean, there's like 2 980 Ti's just chilling over there. Here's the reference card. And here is the custom card. This card right here goes up to 1266. This card goes up to 1292. So when I do the video, I've actually been benchmarking this card for a while. I've got tons of data on this card already on a spreadsheet. When I put these cards side by side, they were identical. Like, this card was no faster. The custom card was no faster, and I was like, okay. This is where AMD fanboys like to really get their panties pulled up their manginas, because side by side, these two cards, if I just put the results on paper and said card A and card B, you would not be able to tell the difference on which card is which if you're just looking at the performance numbers. You want to know why? Because Gigabyte, for whatever reason, went, let's make these fans spin as slow as possible. Yeah, that triggers some people when I do that. They're like, don't spin the fans, it fucks up the RPM wire. Boom, boom, deal with it. So they have these fans spinning so slowly that they still hit 80C. This card still hits 80C out of the box with all them heat pipes. So I basically went to Gigabyte and I said, look, now this is an engineering sample card, by the way. This is not a retail sample. This is engineering. This came straight from China to me with no accessories or anything. I've got a box, but there's like no accessories or anything in it, and had like, you know, telltale signs that this card was never meant to be sold. It was meant to be like handed to someone to test. So I went to Gigabyte and I said, guys, I'm having problems here. I have a problem. I have a problem when my reference card also hits 80C, and then both of these cards start to like dynamically throttle down to around 1200, 1190. And the problem is you're then talking 100 megahertz drop on performance on this. So that's why these cards were performing identical. And if I take the fan curve and I start to bump it up, then I'm able to show like, okay, look, the card can stay down into like 58C if you take noise out of the consideration and let it make some. Because the problem was it was running so damn quiet. It was making no noise, but the card was hot as fuck. So I was telling him, like, guys, I'm having problems with these fans. And they're just not spinning fast enough. I want to take this card out of the box. Now, I take reference cards and I tweak them all the time because what holds these cards back, those cards back, this card back, as you all know, yeah, like I said, I just grab graphics cards out of everywhere. I mean, you guys want me to grab another card? I can. There's another one right over there if anyone wants to take a guess which one it is. Yeah, it's the Zotac. There's one in the box, but the one that's on the table. But I digressed. I expect to have to take a reference card and tweak it to make it not hit thermal limits, which is set by the factory ADC on AMD side. But do you guys agree with me that when I say a custom card on a custom cooler with heat pipes and dual fans should not be hitting ADC? Well, Gigabyte agreed with me, and they went back and tweaked their BIOS, and they're going to be sending it to me. I think actually they might have sent it today. I'll have to double check. Anyway, so that I can say, look, out of the box, this is the performance. And then we'll overclock it. On a side note, this card would not overclock, period. 1292 megahertz, 1300, it was like falling on its face. So then I started to do what I call massaging. I sat there and I was like, come on, baby. Come on, we can do this. We're gonna go 1295. We're gonna go up 3 megahertz. You can do this. And I spent a week, and I mean a week, doing what I call overclock massaging on a graphics card that doesn't want to overclock. I'm pleased to report I have now got this thing stable at 1400 megahertz by doing my methods. We won't talk about my methods. They might be questionable and not necessarily legal in all 50 states. But I digress. Again, because I got this card to 1400 megahertz now, which then starts to show like this card can match the performance of a 6 gigabyte GTX 1060 until you overclock the 1060, and then again it's just like it just pulls ahead like a Ferrari 458 Italia, like whee, it's gone. So anyway, what's the other graphics card I have over here? Oh, hold on, I'll put that one aside. It is the classified. I had a classified over there. You know why I have all these graphics cards everywhere? Because I'm too lazy to go downstairs and put them in the shop. That's why. Is that Bitwit's shirt? No, it's Awesome Sauce's shirt, because it was Awesome Sauce when he made it. Triggered. I like hanging out with you guys. I like hanging out with you guys and not Jerry's here. When Jerry's not here, because I can talk. I could just be like, whatever. I can just say nothing if I want. Did you rub spice on it? Yes, I did. I did. I was like this. I was like, got this. We're going to overclock. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. We got this. We got this. Do you like that? Do you like that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, let's try it. And then I put it on the test bench, and I go, okay, yes, we're good. We're good. Oh, you crashed. Oh, let's back it off a little bit, and let's just do it again. It's a lot of heat cycling, too. It's a lot of core burn-in, if you will. It's actually not recommended. At least it used to not be recommended to overclock a CPU or a GPU immediately. It was recommended to burn it in, almost like an engine break-in, if you will. So that's essentially what I did. But I'm happy that I was not able to get this thing to overclock like 10 megahertz without crashing the first time around. And now I've got this thing sitting at 1400. I'm actually kind of pleased with that. I think I deserve a little bit of respect for that. So yeah, anyway, I will be, when I do this video right here, it's not going to be about this card versus the 1060. I'll be honest. I'm not concerned about how this thing compares to the 1060. That's been a horse that's been beaten. I want to know how it compares to this guy. Because as you guys know, for the longest time, this is all you can get your hands on. And like 3 months later, now you're starting to be able to see these guys appear. Sapphire has a card out. Power Color has a card out. Gigabyte, MSI. So it just, for whatever reason, took them for fucking ever to get it out. Jay uses GPUs as axle stands. I could, probably. Do I have any others right here? So here's the 1060. The 1060 SC. Which is funny. You know how many people got mad at me like, that's a custom card. That's a custom card. That is not fair. It's a founder's board. It's a founder's board. And it has one fan. One fan. It's not like it's got a huge fan on there. And it's the founder's board. It's not a custom board at all. But anyway, that's because millennials like to bitch and whine. That's what they're like bred to do, I guess, if you will. Like horses. Only horses don't whine. They neigh, which is kind of naysaying, which is whining. Fuck! Just proved myself wrong. I hate when I do that. It's one thing to be proved wrong on the internet. It's another thing to do it yourself in front of the internet. Fuck. All right, what do we got here? Matthew Thompson says, hey, Jay, 2 things. One is a 4.80C with a 1.3 volt on a 6700K. Okay, yes. Also, because I am looking to do a custom loop, how much radiator should I have to cool that and later your 980 Kingpin? At least a 360. Maybe 2 240s. That'll work too. Katsumoto says, long time sub, first time donator. Grassy ass, sir. Thank you very much. Keep my 5 gigahertz 6700K. You have a 5 gigahertz 6700K with an H100? Okay, I'll be surprised if you can get higher regardless of the type of cooling you are. I'm curious how much voltage you're pumping into that. My 6700K wouldn't get anywhere damn near 5 gigahertz. You've got a magic chip there, sir. Custom water cool it for the hell of it if you have the money, and then see if you can go higher. But you didn't tell me what your temps are right now, and you didn't tell me what your voltages are, so I can't tell you whether or not you should go higher. Street Guru says, hey, Jay, plans to crossfire an RX 470 and an RX 480? Only test out there is WCCF Tech. Not really a point, just a neat test. I don't recommend it. See, AMD has a different technology with crossfire than NVIDIA, where the cards have to match. They have to be the exact same core. They have to be the exact same memory configuration. They have to be the same speed. The faster card will slow down to match the slower card, but AMD has allowed you usually to be able to crossfire a card in the same series. So before you could crossfire like a 7970 with like 7950, and then the 7970 would take up like a certain percentage of the slack, and then the 7950 would assist. So it was a very different way of handling multi-configuration, GPU configuration. I don't know if I would recommend somebody take a 480 and a 470 and put them together. I'll tell you what I was thinking about doing, though, was actually doing a 3-way and 4-way 1080 test, because I'm seeing that they are working in games. Games that were told that would not be supported on a core level. I don't know. Okay. I was thinking about doing that. Where do you think the 1080 Ti will slot in price? Pretty obvious, right between the 1080 and the Titan XP. Hey Jay, recently started watching your streams, but I was wondering if you were going to do a video about the EVGA 1060 for the win. No, probably not. I'm a little burnt out on graphics card reviews now, and I just showed you guys I still have more to do. I still have to do this guy right here. I have a Gigabyte 1080 Extreme that I'm supposed to review. However, that one got damaged, I think, in transit. One of the fans is broken. So I still have to return that. But I think I'm going to return it and just tell them, like, keep it. I don't want to do the review, honestly. I'm kind of personally burnt out on them. I mean, seriously. It seems like fun. It seems like fun on the outside, right? For you guys to be like, you get to play with all these graphics cards. That's so much fun. And it is. The first couple times when something's new. The problem is when you got to do these tests and it takes hours and hours and hours, it's every time one shows up, it doesn't feel like, yay! It feels like more work. I mean, it's a job. What else can I say? And you guys know that even things that you love the most can wear off. So I'm trying to avoid burning out on graphics cards entirely because I still like them. Ethan Rue says, oh wait, isn't that the guy we're supposed to just call me Rue from last week? Do you know if anyone's considering a water cooling plate for the 1080 classified? Water cooling block. Yes, when you say plate, I was confused. EK is making one for the 1080 classified. It was initially expected to be end of August. I don't think they hit that deadline, but they have it listed on their roadmap that they're going to be doing one. Matt DeKiko says, Jay, I know I'm mutilating your name. Someday I'll say it right. Jay, who is your favorite radiator manufacturer and why? So, I've used a lot of radiator companies over the years. I've used AlphaCool, I've used SwiftTech, I've used EK, and EK has changed their stuff a lot. I've used Hardware Labs. I have used drawing a blank. One of the first manufacturers I used to use. Doesn't really matter. They're not in business anymore. I'm a huge fan of what EK is doing now with radiators, and it's not just because they like are willing to sponsor builds for me. It's because they seem to have put so much effort into their design. And when they first started back in like the 400 series, no, but way before that, the 8800 my 8800 Ultra had an EK block on it. They weren't the most popular. They had issues in the past with nickel plating flaking off, and they took a huge company hit in terms of reputation regarding the nickel plating stuff. But they overcame that and bettered their process, and are now arguably amongst the best manufacturers of blocks right now for their stuff. I still think they have a ways to go on their fittings. Unfortunately, the only fittings I've ever had leak on me were EK fittings, their swivel 90s. And I know of a few other people that have also had that issue. So they have a long way to go before they catch Bits Power, which is arguably the best fittings company when it comes to like swivels, like 45s and 90s and dual rotary 90s and stuff like that. I'm also a huge fan of Primo Chill when it comes to their compression type fittings, like their hardline fittings, even their soft tubing fittings. But soft tubing fittings are a lot less important than, say, the precision of hardline fittings. So I've kind of got a favorite company in each space of water cooling fuel. I've got my favorite radiator company. My favorite pumps are Lang DD5s. I say Lang because anyone who sells a D5, I said DD5, there's DDC and D5. D5, Lang D5. Any company that sells a D5 is rebranding a Lang pump, which is an industrial company. And I have my favorite blocks, which are EK by far. I've got my favorite fittings for, like I said, I use all Bits Power for my angles, and I use all Primo Chill for my hardline fittings and Primo Chill tubing. So yeah, I've been wanting to check out some of the other brands. Like Bits Power makes blocks now too, but I've always liked EK's blocks better, so I just stick with that. I'm real picky and real meticulous with the brands I'm willing to try. Katsumoto responded to me. He says it's at 1.39 volts in BIOS, 8-hour benchmark stable. Wow, 30 to 35 idle, 60 to 65 gaming, 80-ish during 8-hour benchmark. Ara made the first 6700K with Intel and received this one, and it's been pure magic since. I would say leave it where it's at. Your temperatures are already pretty high for being at on an H100. I would go with a full loop just to keep that thing alive as long as possible. 1.39 volts is higher than where I would personally run mine 24/7. I don't go above 1.35 on voltage for my blocks or my CPUs from Intel. Yeah, you don't want to burn that one up too quick fast. Crimps, CRYMTZ. Hey Jay, I commented twice last week, but I guess I never got through. I just got a 2017 Giant Defy Advance 3. I almost bought that bike. Not 2017 though, the 2015 version. No, 2016 version, sorry. Wait, what is this year? Yeah, 2015. I don't know what year it is. I feel like freaking Encino Man. All right. I just got a 2017 Giant Defy Advance 3, and I was wondering if you would recommend any particular carbon wheel set. Well, believe it or not, I'm running Giant carbon wheels on my bike. They're a two-piece carbon aero wheel, so it's not a full carbon structure. It's not carbon where the brake pads meet. That is aluminum or aluminum still. But I use the Giant PSLR wheels, and I really like them. They're very strong. But if you live in a windy area like I do, you get a lot of lateral push with those. Anyway, James Cleach says, hey, Jay, recently started watching your streams with Jerry, and I love them. As I was wondering if you are going to do a video on the EVGA 1060 for the win. I don't know if that's delayed, but I already answered that. I'm probably not going to do any more 1060 reviews, honestly. I've just looked at two of them. The reference founder's card, the little guy right here, the SC, like I showed, and then the 3 gigabyte version, or better known as the 1060 SE. It's the downside about Jerry not being here. My voice, I've got to carry the show by myself. So my voice starts to get a little raspy, and I don't mean in a sexy way either. John Van Honkerton again on Twitter says, any performance improvement suggestions? Yeah, get a different case, one that actually lets air in there. Oh, man. Yeah, and an exhaust fan in the back. You need a better case all around, honestly. Is a Masterbox 5 a decent budget case? Plan to put a Z170 Mobo in a 6600K DDR4 2400 reusing the 750 Ti and PSU. Can I ask why you're running a 6600K with DDR4 and keeping a 750 Ti? That seems really counterintuitive to the gaming experience, considering the CPU is going to give you a lot lesser performance than a better GPU would. The 750 Ti was not powerful by any sense of the word. I guess it depends on what you're playing. And what case you have. I'd like to see you buy a new graphics card than a new case. Hey, Jay, I got an X99 Deluxe 2. Should I add another 2 SIMs to go from dual channel to quad channel? Yes, absolutely. It's one of the major benefits to the Extreme platform. Is the 4-channel RAM. That's like, I don't know. That's like saying, you know, I got a fast car with a V8, but I don't need them 2 cylinders right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the plugs on those 2, and I'm just going to run 6 cylinders because I'm a man, and men make it work no matter what. That's really what you just kind of did right there. Was you went, I don't need all my cylinders. Yeah, we don't need to fire on all of them. Hell no. Dude, do it. It pains me to see people use Extreme platform stuff and not occupy at least 1 slot in each channel. It hurts physically, right there, right in the man boob. What engine modifications do you have in your Nismo? Not a lot of engine modifications, but the suspension mods are plentiful. Matt McGregor says 3-pin pump on an AIO H55, controlling the pump with speed fan 50% on a GPU temp. Rad plus good, bad, indifferent to change pump speed that way. Changing pump speed is not going to change your temperatures. It's not. Maybe there's a video idea that I've been waiting on that I should do. I really need to do the comparison of pump speed to show people that it's not going to make a difference. Depending on okay, there are things that matter, but depending on the pump, like a Lang DDC 12-volt pump can actually put a good amount of heat out into the case that it's in. That's why people put heat sinks on the bottom of those. And D5 pumps are actively cooled by the fluid moving through them. So if you start to crank a pump up really high and the coolant moving through the pump is responsible for keeping it cool, you're adding more heat to the loop, which is then almost like causing sort of a chain reaction of the loop to get hotter. One of the ways I was able to get my CPU loop temp down a little bit was to actually slow the pump down. Ethan Rue, again, says, Jay, EK Waterblocks has canceled the 1080 classified water block. No, those bastards. They were supposed to make one because they needed one. Also, anyone else you know have it on the radar? Nope. They were the only brand that was supposed to make it. Don't know why they canceled. I even offered to send them mine. All right, anyway. What's your opinion on the Inwin 303 case for a custom loop? I swear that is all people care about. All people care about is my opinion on water cooling, and I'm so much more. I am so much more. Don't bother water cooling in this case. Let me see. That's an interesting design, though. The way the radiator and the fans up top are like sideways. Kind of makes me wonder how the air gets in and out. I don't know. I don't know nothing about this case. I'm not going to answer that. I have a 6700K. What's your recommendation on a motherboard and RAM? I'm new to overclocking. I got about 500 to spend. So, I'm using the M-Power, the titanium M-Power. I don't know how much it is, though, honestly. MSI sent it a while ago. Brandon Smith says, what do you think about the Corsair 200R? Should I upgrade from it? I can't answer these kinds of questions. You have to ask yourself, is your case not giving you what you need in a case? Is it too small? Is it too hot? Is it dusty? Is there no cable management that you don't like? I mean, cases are they're so opinion based. There's so much that matters with your opinion on the case. All right, Jay, is the MSI Gaming Z bigger than the Gaming X? They are the same size card from what I understand. Intake through the bottom, exhaust through the top, but the radiator's sideways. That's just weird. Jay, nice lineup. Jay, nice lineup. What razor you use? What? Get faster clocks at lower volts than people who use air, as proved in this chat. So the Zotac, that's a good point. If we're talking about graphics cards here, I said in yesterday's video with the Zotac that it matched the speed of my classified 1080, 2164 megahertz, but that it was faster than it because there was no fluctuation in frequency, where the classified would still bump down sometimes 25-ish, sometimes more, sometimes less megahertz, and it was kind of doing this right through the chart, where the Zotac card on water was just like flatlined all the way across. The classified card on air took 1.092 volts to do it, or 1.093 volts, sorry. The Zotac card was sitting at like 1.072 at the highest, and sometimes as low as 1.050, and never like had to go up to the 1092 range. So yeah, the water-cooled cards are pulling out the same frequencies with less voltage. Pineapple Gamer says it's by B-Day tomorrow. Happy B-Day. I don't know if he's watching or not. Ted Llewellyn. I hate names. Can everyone just be man 1, man 2, girl 1? That'd be so much easier. Just wanted to say I love you as a person. Aw. You must not know me very well. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for that. Honestly, people seem to hate me as a person too. Jay, because you're the very inspirational person, I've inspired you to take more frequent poops, haven't I? You have inspired me into weight loss surgery, and for that, thank you. Hey, all I ever said was I want you to make a decision that's better for your life, whether that be surgery or not. Like I said, for me, it meant being around longer for my daughter, or daughters. When I only had one kid. But yeah. Anyway, look at my quality of life now. Man, riding bikes, busting ribs. Yeah. All right. Jared Zarnikow says, Jared Sarnakohe. Jared, he's phonetically typing it out for me. It says Jared Sharnako. Oh, Sharnako. Okay, got it. Jay, doing good, doing all right, doing okay. Good. My brain hurts a little. Kyle Buchanan says, hey Jay, what days will you be in Seattle for the Dirtfish stuff? I will be heading up to Seattle area October, like the 22nd, which is the Saturday, and I'll probably be heading home on the 25th. I won't be up there that long, actually. No one can tolerate that much Jerry at one time, trust me. Default Gaming. Hey Jay, looking to buy my first DSLR. Budget is $400 to $600. What would you recommend? I would like to use it for stills as well as video recording. So, at the risk of pissing off all the Nikon or Nikon, depending on where you are, fans, I've never used the Nikon camera, so I don't have one I can recommend. I will say that your budget puts you right in the Canon T5 range, not the T5i, but the T5 range. I would consider looking at that. Maybe finding an older T4i, maybe on clearance or something if you can find one. Jay, what is the best full-size cartridge for going in a woods once SHTF? Don't do drugs, people. Anytime you'll be closer to El Paso, Texas. I've been to Texas once ever, not counting flying over it on an airplane, and that was to Austin. Your 07 Eclipse GT or my 370? Bruh. Bruh. Jay, what's up with Nizzy's boost? She's not getting boost. Nope. That was a stupid idea to ever even consider that. I'm glad I backed out. Haggerty Insurance is doing another live rebuild of a barn find over 3 days in October. Nice. Jay, sup? Sadu. I'm planning on doing a budget build for my 5-year-old. AMD APU and want it to be small form factor to fit on his desk well. I want to leave the possibility to add a discrete GPU in the future. Case recommendations. So, cool thing is, like I've showed already, especially when you look at the size of the PCB on this guy here, the 1060, the RX 480 are available in small form factor. So you can add a discrete graphics card that's going to perform pretty well. So little J is running an FM2 with an A10 7850K APU, but she's got a discrete R7 250 passive cooled Sapphire card in it, so it has no fans and it doesn't require any PCI Express power. And she can play her Minecraft without any problems. Of course, she doesn't run shader mods or anything. She just plays Minecraft. She plays The Sims, no problems. She plays all her little like Flash-based like learning games and stuff, no problems. Case-wise, so you're probably gonna be sticking to like, do they have ITX FM2 Plus? I think they do. So if you're thinking about ITX form factor, the new Core 500 from Fractal Design is a good one. The Define Nano S is another really good case that's small form factor and supports ITX. There's also, I have not looked up ITX stuff in a while. Yeah, as long as you find an ITX case that will support your power supply and a short graphics card, you'll be fine. In fact, I need to upgrade her computer soon because she's starting to get into games now that would actually use graphical power. That her little R7 250 passive cooled card is just doing a terrible job at it now. Bullet button ban? What's that? I don't want to talk about the new California gun laws. I'm less than 3 months away from being a registered assault weapon owner in the state of California, but that's okay. What sucks about that, though, is if I registered the gun as an assault weapon based on the new laws coming January 1st and don't make it California friendly, which means I have to remove the pistol grip from the damn gun. It's an AR-15, by the way. Then I cannot move out of state with it. If I go to leave the state, which I'm really thinking about doing, getting the hell out of this shithole, then I have to submit the weapon for destruction, which sucks. Granted, it's not a very expensive gun. I built it for like $1,200. I would take my side. You know, actually, Coconut Monkey had a very good point. I was having this conversation with him. I like how I'm like, I'm not going to talk about guns. And I'm just like, I'm going to talk about guns. Fuck it. It's only the lower. The lower is what is classified as the weapon in the state of California. It's also the only thing with a serial number on it. So Coconut Monkey, because he just bought a lower, AR-15 lower, he goes, so if you move, it has to get destroyed, right? I'm like, yeah, that's true. He goes, couldn't you just give him the lower? I'm like, you know, that's a good point. Now that I think about it, yeah, I would. I would just give him my lower. And when they go, where's the rest of the gun? I go, this is the gun. In the terms of the law, this thing with nothing in it, no triggers, no nothing, this little piece of poly and metal, that's the gun. Deal with it. Have a nice day. And off I go. So yeah, I would totally do that. Just give them my lower and be like, here you go. Fuck you. Here's a lower. Where do I want to move? I don't know. That's the problem. That's why I haven't moved yet. Coconut Monkey was texting me here. He's remember I told you he's coming over? Yeah. Anyway, Red Tech 3.0 says, when are we going to get a how to massage a video card tutorial? The problem is it doesn't always work. And it's one of those videos that people, I know they're going to be like, this is stupid. This doesn't work. I sit here on my computer all day and I read forums, so I am a completely learned expert on everything. And I'm telling you this isn't going to work, even though I've done this a ton, and I've had it also not work a lot, but I've had it work enough to try it when graphics cards don't want to overclock. But this is one of those ones that I could see the amount of people sitting there in their basements just like armchair quarterbacking going, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Because I saw on overclock.net, they said, and they had like no firsthand experience. I just don't want to deal with the shit that people are going to say. But on the other hand, part of me kind of wants to go, that's fine. Fuck you. We're not doing a video for you. We're doing it for the people who would try it and maybe get something out of it. So I guess we'll see. Move to Botswana? Where the hell is Botswana? Washington or Oregon? Boo, California. Yeah, move to Canada. Blame Canada. Move next door to Jerry. Hell no. If I want to stay friends with that guy, I can't live that close to him. Good internet and lowest COL you can find. Yeah, I know, right? I'll just move to like Montana. That's a low cost of living. Is the i3 6300 and a GTX 1060 a good pair? No, they will explode like a Note 7. Hey, OCN is awesome. I didn't say OCN is bad. I just said the people that read stuff on OCN and think they're some sort of an expert now are the problem. Well, they're a problem. They're a problem that leads to a bigger problem. Fuck Florida. Florida. Move to Norway. No, but I'll move to doorway. All right, that was dumb. Kevin Hunt says, got a refurb 980 Ti from Newegg for SLI that stopped working. Fans spin when it's by itself, but won't show on monitor, and nothing while on SLI. Should I return? Which monitor? Did you try more than one monitor? I don't know. If the fans are spinning and it works, I don't know. It's up to you. It sounds like you already had an RMA problem, though. I think my donation question got lost. Thanks, YouTube. Sorry, Vinny. YouTube will get a better system someday, I think. Jonathan Allison says, a friend just asked me, so I'm asking you. He has 16 gigabytes of RAM. Is it better to run 4 sticks of 4 gigabyte or 2 sticks of 8 gigabyte? Or is it the speed that really matters? That depends. If you're in a 2-channel system, then run 2 sticks. If you're in a 4-channel system, run 4 sticks. If you're wanting to get the most out of your overclock, then you would want to run the least amount of sticks that you could that maintain the number of channels that you have. So with that said, if you were running an X99 system and you have 8 DIMM slots, you would run 4, 1 stick in each channel. Because if you occupy all of the memory slots, you can oftentimes get a lower overclock because of the stress on the memory controller. But if you're running a 2-channel motherboard, which means you just have an A and B channel, not an A, B, C, or D, or 1 through 4, then run 2 sticks. Don't occupy all 4 because of the same reason. Does your massaging technique work on CPUs too? My i5 4690 throws a temper tantrum at anything more than 4.4 at 100 by 44 multiplier and at 1.25 volt mid to low end 60s gaming. You can bump that voltage up to like 1.3 and try again. I haven't tried it with a CPU. Usually CPUs, they're a lot more dramatic when they throw their fits, and it's going to throw their fits at times that I don't want it to, like when I'm trying to edit a video or something. So I tend to just find my easy max overclock and then just leave it there. April Landerman says, you're a fucking nerd. Just kidding, I love you. I am a nerd. That's what makes this world awesome. I'm a nerd, and I'm proud of it. Nobody heard that, right? Okay. I'm a nerd, and I'm proud of it. Besides, everyone knows nerds make all the money. All right, moving forward. Let's see. Kyle Kendall says, I once saw diesel gel up right in front of my eyes. Wow. How'd you watch diesel gel up? I just learned something new in my memory. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, you're welcome. Now, for Skunkworks, I am going to be occupying 8 DIMMs of memory. And let me tell you why. And I've already looked at this and went, this sucks, because I'm probably going to have to back off my overclock from that 4.5 gigahertz stable 5960X, probably down to like 4.3, maybe 4.2. And I'm okay with that. Because now that I'm working in a 4K timeline because of that guy right there, my Sony FS5, I've watched all 32 gigs of my RAM get eaten up while editing in Adobe and then deal with like terrible playback. And remember, when you watch a preview when you're editing, it's called a RAM preview because it's rendering the preview in the RAM, and then the RAM is playing it back. So the more RAM, the better when you deal with a timeline like 4K at 35 megabit. So, yeah, there's that. So anyway, I'd rather have the CPU run a little bit slower than its max overclock with all 8 DIMMs for 64 gigs. And I could probably write Corsair and be like, hey, could you send me a 64 gigabyte kit, a 4 DIMM kit of memory? I already have 8 DIMMs of 3000 megahertz DDR4, 8 gigabytes each. I don't want to be that guy that's like, it's not the ideal config, so can you just send me some more? I don't do that. Believe it or not, you can ask any vendor. I don't hit them up a lot, except for EVG. I do hit up Jacob a lot and go, hey, send me something. But yeah, I'm not that guy that is always writing emails like, hey, send me shit. I don't like to be that guy. So I'd rather just use the 8 DIMMs I've got than ask for 4 of a higher, right? Wait, what is it? Yeah. I had to do math for a second there. I don't want to be that guy. So that's the bottom line. J1080 Ti is announced. Is it? Let me see. Did they officially do something? I don't even really care. I just think it's funny. NVIDIA GTI, no, it's a leak right there. Leak. Leak. Okay. Leaks are not announced, but it doesn't really matter. I've got my Titan Pascals now, so I'm happy. So, okay, let's talk about the specifications. Everyone's bugging me so much about it. All right, so let's go ahead and do this here. I will put it up on the screen so you guys can see. You guys ready? There we go. So this is the leak specs right here. You can see the Titan X, which is actually the Pascal card, is on the left. They're both 16 nanometer. Titan X has more shader or SM units. Let's see, they both have 64 cores per shader module, 11 teraflops versus 10.8. Wow. Okay, so 3584 core versus 3328. VRAM type GDDR5X. Interesting. That's really interesting. They're showing GDDR5 and not 5X. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. All right, fine. Anyway, 480 gigabyte per second bandwidth there. 1417 base clock versus a 1503. A boost clock of 1531 versus 1623. They're both 250 watt TDP. And they're both 8+6 pin PCIe 3.0. So that's why the teraflops are so close. Although it's got less CUDA cores, it's running a faster boost clock. I find that really interesting, though, if it truly is running GDDR5 and not 5X. I find that interesting, honestly. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. They may send me one for review, they may not. They haven't talked to me about anything, but even if they don't, I'm just kind of like perfectly okay with that, if you want to know the truth. But there you go. That was courtesy of OC3D. That's good. Oh, Tiny Tom Logan over there. All right. Trump or Hillary? How about Trillery or Hump? It's about the same. All right, 1080 now or wait for the TI. How about you wait 2 years? Wait 2 years. Don't buy a graphics card for 2 years. That's my answer to you. Jay, saw the video on the alternative liquids. That was cool. Have you ever tried auto radiator coolant? No, because a lot of it's glycol based, and if I'm using PETG, which is the G stands for glycol, you could have a reaction, a bad problem there. Dicks out for Harambe. Why are people still talking about that? Why are people still talking about it? You know, as a parent, here's my stance on that. As a parent, I don't care how the kid got in there. I don't care who's at fault, the parent or the zoo. The bottom line is there's an innocent kid in there. All right, we're talking like, I think it was a 2-year-old. And if it were up to me, the gorilla's gonna die. Okay? The gorilla's life is less important than that child's, regardless of whose fault it is. You guys can sit there and bicker about, it was the zoo's fault. They didn't think about this. It was the parents' fault. They didn't have a close enough eye on their kid. You know whose fault it wasn't? The kid. And if you think a 2-year-old is cognizant enough to think like, I shouldn't like climb through this little hole and maybe fall down in a fucking gorilla pit, if I had the gun, I'd shoot without hesitation. So there's my political stance on the whole Harambe thing, and my dick stays in my pants. There you go. I'm so sick about this whole Harambe thing. It's a sad situation all around, but the bottom line is the kid is going to live if I've got the opportunity. There you go. All right, so we've got a couple more donation comments here to talk about, and then we got to go. Dizzy Hat says, hey Jay, in 2 Thermaltake X9s, would it be possible to cool a server system in my gaming rig on the same hardline loop, assuming enough radiator support? All that matters when it comes to water cooling with radiators, it doesn't matter what it's hooked up to, it has to do with watts dissipated. It has to do with the amount of heat watts it's got to dissipate. As long as you have enough radiator space, you can cool anything. Josh Hartsook said, Jay's into guns just became my favorite YouTuber. Dude, I've got a video of me building my AR-15. Just look it up. Love the videos. Keep up the awesome work. Much love from Minnesota. Steve Pryor says, hey Jay, I've got a 980 that I've had to OC to 1470 on some water since day one, and I've recently had to start backing it off due to crashing. Could my card be dying, or would it be software related? You're dealing with degradation. Not all graphics cards or anything that you actually overclock is going to be stable all the time. It's going to, over time, potentially get worse. CPUs, GPUs, or whatever. It just sounds normal to me. It just sounds like wherever you had it first was like right on the edge of its stability. So as it degraded slightly, then it became unstable over time. So anyway, that is that. I know it's a couple minutes early here, but I'm going to go. My voice is like starting to give out here, and I can't do that. I'm going to be at Paul's Hardware's place tomorrow, like I said. Helping him do some stuff. I don't know if I'm going to do a video on my end. I might do a vlog. I don't know. but I'm pretty sure you're going to see a video on his channel at least. So you guys make sure you sub to Paul's Hardware. And yeah, anyway, with that, it's time to go, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Jerry should be back next week, but if not, we'll just do this again. That's the best part about Tech Talk. It can be whatever I want it to be. All right, rolling that outro, and I'll see you guys next time. This is the part where Jerry usually sings the outro song, and I'm trying to make it because it's the song. It sings about toilet paper and farts and poop, and that's pretty much it. Okay, bye.